Howdy folks, this is Father Dugan 9000 here, and welcome to another episode of... actually, hang on, I'm renaming things. This used to be called Dougal's Game Finish Chronicles, but for brevity's sake, I'm gonna be renaming this series to Game Finish Trios, a series where I talk about the games I've played and beaten as part of the Hardcore Gaming 101 Forums Game Finish Challenge. Hello. It's been a while. Quite a while since the last video. I decided to take a break from making them because I was trying to juggle a lot of things and got rather burnt out from the whole thing. It was a very hasty decision. So hasty I didn't even say anything in the last video that I was going to do it. I only decided to do it after the fact and only added it to the video description at the last minute. I'd meant to take a short break. This is not a short break. Compared to the 100 Years' War, maybe, but in this scenario, no, not really. Sorry about that. And sorry for not really making any updates outside of posting that Table Scraps album back in the middle of September. I'm bad at trying to let folks know I still exist. But at the very least, I do exist. And we will jump back into doing a few videos that I had done voice work for before that extended break occurred. So it'll be business as usual for an bit. Now, where were we? Yes. Today's games were originally logged from the 8th to the 13th of November, 2021. BoxBoxBoy for the Nintendo 3DS. I've never really been terribly keen on Nintendo's first-party games, or those from their regular collaborators like HAL Laboratory, but there are a couple of exceptions, and one of them is the BoxBoy series. This is a cool bunch of puzzle platformers, where you generate a certain amount of blocks to navigate stages. It's a great example of how a very simple concept can be taken to all sorts of inventive places. I played the original quite a while back and have finally gotten around to the first sequel, which introduces the ability to generate two separate pairs of blocks. Such a basic addition radically changes how puzzles are constructed to account for this, though I surprisingly had an easier time getting through them compared to the first. Maybe I was just in a more puzzle platforming mindset, or I was able to solve puzzles quicker because of the second pair, it gives me more options and all that. I'm not really sure, but it was a fun time all the same. I'm definitely looking forward to checking out that third game that came out for the 3DS in the future. Rocket Knight for the Xbox 360. This here game was free with Xbox Live's Games with Gold during the first half of November 2021, and I played it while I was waiting for Saints Row 1 to fail to download. There was a plan to try and download that, but it didn't work out for whatever reason. The thing fully downloaded, but then didn't register as being a thing you could actually play on the console. Bollocks. In the meantime, I'd always wanted to get into the Rocket Knight series, but I find them to be a bit too fast-paced and tough for my liking. I remember the 2010 sequel, This Thing, being criticized for how slow and easy it is, especially in comparison to the originals, and yet those differences are exactly what appeal to me. It makes for an approachable, if bland, take on the series that's actually just as much its own beast as it is a throwback to the old games. Moments are more segmented, with platforming, flying, and boss encounters being given their own individual levels, instead of all occurring within the same stage and going back and forth between all of them. Combat is way less hectic, with only a handful of bosses to deal with, and enemy types that are generally easy to circumvent. Though I still had some trouble on occasion, and later ones can definitely be quite tricky, I can tell you that for now. I even like some of the gimmicks, such as how your rocket fuel freezes up in the cold mountains, forcing you to conserve your own energy until you fight heat. That's pretty cool. Gave me kind of a weird Lost Planet sort of vibe. Even though the two have nothing at all in common, and even that connection is extremely tenuous at best. I'm surprised at how short the game is. It took me about an hour and a half to beat. But at least it makes for a breezy affair that you can beat in a single setting, which I ended up doing somehow. I wouldn't say it's a great game, but when I played this, I just was really feeling out of it and couldn't be motivated to do any kind of real work, so I just wanted something to play and focus on that was basic and to the point, which this really was, and I do highly appreciate that. Liberation Maiden for the Nintendo 3DS. I ended up checking out the last few Guild games to see how they fared. Ute Saito's Aeroporter is neat, but way too overwhelming for me. It is deliberately manic, so they certainly accomplished that. And I wasn't very keen on Bugs vs. Tanks, which was produced, I think, by Keiji Inafune. But I did manage to play through Grasshopper Manufacture's Liberation Maiden. I'd heard it being described as a shoot-'em-up and assumed it was something along the lines of R-Type or 1942. You know, the ones where you're scrolling in one direction and you're just dodging attacks on a single axis and getting in your shots, which isn't something I'm terribly keen on. However, Liberation Maiden is actually a 3D shooter where you can fly about in any direction and attack enemies with a hold to lock on and then release to fire mechanic, much like Rez. The big difference is that you use your shields to attack enemies, so you gotta be careful not to use up everything or you'll leave yourself defenseless. It's surprisingly compelling, and I enjoyed scanning over enemies with the stylus while moving around and then letting rip. That said, I wish the camera was tilted a little higher up because I felt like I could just barely see what I needed to at times. It works for what it has to do since you're mostly attacking things on the ground below, but it was still more frustrating than I'd prefer. I also played this on easy. I play everything on easy, but I think it's worth mentioning here because, I don't know, maybe the higher difficulties could offer extra sub-objectives like Perfect Dark or GoldenEye, considering that there's only 5 stages with pretty large level layouts. I hope there is, because I do like what's there and would like another reason to go back into it. And with that done, I've played all of the Guild games and covered the ones I enjoyed enough to beat. I really dig this series and how much it encouraged all manner of developers to experiment with short but sweet games that hopefully found people checking out their other works. Part of me wishes Level 5 kept the series going into the later 3DS era and maybe even the Switch. With so many games that it's hard to figure out where to start and what to play and all that, having a series of admittedly middle shelf but unique and very cool outings by some of Japan's biggest and most interesting names would be a heck of an attention grabber. Oh, well, at least we got these 7, and even though I didn't care for 3 of them, that being the 2 I already mentioned in this video and Crimson Shroud, they're all still very cool in their own right. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna just casually daydream about my hypothetical Guild 3 collection for the Switch that has games designed by Rika Suzuki of Hotel Dusk and Other Code and Riverhill Soft fame, Shinji Mikami, Masato Miyazaki, the director of Enchanted Arms, and Shuzo Matsuoka, the former pro tennis player turned motivational speaker, aka the Never Give Up Man. Feck's sake, Level 5, if you can make a new Layton, you can make some new Guild games, come on. These are too good to just let die. And with that, we've wrapped up another episode of the series. I hope that you enjoyed watching, and that you'll tune in for the next video, which definitely won't take 3 to 4 months to come out, don't worry. Thank you so much, and until we meet again, have a wonderful day.